Have you ever seen an image of the Hindu god Shiva and noticed his throat is a brilliant, striking blue? Well, that's not just some artistic choice. It's actually a scar from an ancient cosmic event, a story about a desperate quest, a universe-ending poison, and one of the greatest sacrifices in all of mythology.
So yeah, that's the big question, right? Why the blue throat? It's not a birthmark, it's not a decoration. That vibrant blue is a permanent reminder of a moment when the entire universe was on the very brink of annihilation. And to really get how it happened, we have to go way back to the very beginning.
Our story kicks off with a project on a scale that is, well, almost impossible to imagine. The plan was to churn an entire cosmic ocean, and this wasn't for fun. It was an all-out, desperate mission to get their hands on the ultimate prize, immortality itself.
Now, to pull something like this off, two cosmic forces that were sworn enemies had to work together. On one side, you had the devas, the gods, and on the other, the asuras, who you could call the anti-gods. Both sides were incredibly powerful, and both wanted eternal life more than anything. So, they did the unthinkable. They called a truce and formed a seriously uneasy alliance.
Their shared mission was something called the Samudra Manthan, which literally means the churning of the ocean of milk. This wasn't just any ocean. It was a vast, primordial sea that was said to hold Amrita, the divine nectar of immortality. The idea was, if they could just churn this cosmic ocean, kind of like you churn cream to get butter, the Amrita would eventually rise to the top.
So how in the world do you churn an entire ocean? Well, you need some seriously cosmic-sized tools. For their churning rod, they plucked an entire mountain from the earth, Mount Mandara. And for the rope, they got the great serpent king, Vasuki, to wrap himself around it. The devas grabbed one end, the asuras grabbed the other, and they started pulling, back and forth, for thousands of years, churning the very fabric of creation.
And you know what? It started to work. Incredible treasures began bubbling up from the ocean, and it really seemed like their massive effort was about to pay off. But then, something went terribly, terribly wrong.
At first, it was amazing. The moon itself, Chandra, rose from the depths. Then came Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, followed by all sorts of divine animals and celestial treasures. You can just imagine the excitement. Everything they dreamed of was coming true. Victory felt so close.
But just before that precious nectar of immortality could appear, something else surfaced. Something horrific. From the mouth of the serpent Vasuki, who was in absolute agony from being pulled for centuries, came a black, fuming poison. Its name was Hala Hala. And this wasn't just any poison, it was the distilled essence of cosmic destruction.
The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The Hala Hala spread like a plague through the cosmos. The sky turned black, the sun went dark. Its fumes were so toxic they started melting mountains and boiling the oceans. Every single living thing, from the gods and demons down to the smallest creatures, began to choke and suffocate. Their quest for immortality had just unleashed total Armageddon.
In total panic, the devas and asuras completely abandoned their project. Who cared about immortality now? They were all about to be wiped out. There was only one being in the entire universe who was powerful enough, who was separate enough from all this that might be able to stop it. And so they fled, desperate, to find Lord Shiva.
And this, right here, is the turning point of the whole story. This isn't a battle fought with armies or weapons. It's about a sacrifice so deep, so absolute, it would forever mark the one who made it. Now, Shiva's reason for getting involved wasn't about ego or power or glory. The stories say he was simply moved by an infinite compassion. He looked out and saw the terror and the suffering of every single being in the universe, and he knew he had to do something.
So, using his divine power, Shiva did the unthinkable. He reached out into the cosmos and gathered up every last drop of that swirling, world-ending Hala Hala poison. He condensed that apocalyptic force into a single glowing orb in the palm of his hand.
And then, as all the other gods and demons watched, in absolute horror, he brought that poison to his lips, and he drank it. He didn't try to neutralize it or destroy it. He took it all into himself, willingly choosing to absorb the full weight of the universe's pain and suffering.
But wait,
the story's not over. That poison was so powerful that if it had actually entered Shiva's stomach, it would have destroyed the universe that is said to exist inside of him. But just in that critical moment, his consort, the goddess Parvati, saw what was happening, and she moved like lightning.
She pressed her hand against Shiva's throat with all of her divine might, and her timing, her power, was so perfect that she halted the poison right there. It was trapped. It couldn't go down and destroy everything within him, but it couldn't come back up to poison the world either. It was contained. So, the universe was saved. The churning for immortality could eventually start up again. But the consequence of Shiva's incredible sacrifice and Parvati's quick thinking was something that would last for all eternity.
You see, the hala was so incredibly toxic that just being held in his throat was enough to permanently stain his skin a deep, vibrant blue. And from that day on, Shiva earned a new name, Neelakantha, which literally means the blue-throated one.
So what does this whole epic story really mean? Well, it's about sacrifice, right? The willingness to take on incredible suffering for the sake of others. It's also a demonstration of a power so transcendent that only Shiva could handle it. And maybe most importantly, it shows that the love in action of a partner, of Parvati, was absolutely essential in saving the day.
So the next time you see that image of Shiva with his blue throat, remember, you're not looking at a wound or a weakness. You're looking at a badge of honor. It is a constant, beautiful reminder that this is a god who was willing to literally swallow the worst poison in existence, all out of love and compassion, and carries it forever as a sign of his protection over all of us.
And that really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? This ancient myth kind of pushes us to look at our own lives and ask, what does it really mean to take on a burden, not for yourself, but for the good of everyone else? What is the true meaning of sacrifice,